A couple months ago, I watched the new HBO series, The Watchmen. Great show, highly recommend it. I'm not even going to try to explain the storyline because it's quite complex, and frankly, I've already forgotten a lot of it. It's funny how the human mind works, though. I bet in 10 years I'll struggle to remember anything about that show, but I'll remember that it was good. I'll also never forget this one line from that show. That line came from Dr. Manhattan in a scene where he meets the main character of the show, Angela. But before I describe that scene, it's important to understand who Dr. Manhattan is. Dr. Manhattan is an all powerful being. He has blue skin, white eyes, he is invulnerable to harm, he can fly, he can teleport, he can create or destroy any object, but perhaps his most interesting ability is his perception of time. He can view the past, the present, and the future all at the same time. So in that scene, Angela is sitting alone at a bar, paying respect to the anniversary of her parents' death, when she is approached by Dr. Manhattan. In their conversation, Dr. Manhattan explains that they are going to have a 10-year relationship that will end in tragedy. So Angela asks, well, if it's going to end in tragedy, then why have the relationship in the first place? In which Dr. Manhattan responds, all relationships end in tragedy. I'll never forget that line. All relationships end in tragedy. It's so sad, isn't it? But it's only sad because it's true. Whether you grow apart over time, you have a falling out, or inevitably one of you dies, eventually all relationships will end in tragedy. But this doesn't just apply to a relationship with your significant other. It also applies to a relationship with your old high school buddy, your grandmother, even your cat. So one day when you die, your death will be tragic. It'll be tragic because you would have made positive impacts in other people's lives, and those people will feel the loss of your presence. But just because it's tragic doesn't make it all bad. When my grandma died 7 years ago, there was well over 100 people at her funeral. It's sad to think that with her death, over 100 relationships died with her. But even though it's sad, it's comforting to see that she made such a positive impact in so many people's lives. To see so many people there meant that she lived a very meaningful life. Tragedy and impact are two sides of the same coin. Something is only tragic because the act of losing something, something that is impactful, something that is meaningful, is tragic. So just because all relationships end in tragedy doesn't mean you shouldn't build relationships. Quite the opposite, actually. In a way, the more tragic your death is, the better, because it would have meant that you made a positive impact in other people's lives.